Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our coaching show this morning. On the agenda is radio voice practice. No, not radio voice practice. We're not going to do that. We're going to talk about winning some listings by answering sellers' top 3 questions. 1, how much will my house sell for? Number 2, how long will it take? And number 3, how do we protect ourselves from a stalking cougar when we're out on a run? I mean, wait, not that. It's going to be how do we juggle selling a house and buying one in the same transaction? So, okay. Well, let's dive into it. You guys ready? Yes, we're ready. Okay, first of all, let's take notes and let's write down the factors at the top. It's kind of what I did here in my notes this morning. I wrote down the factors. So the factors are what weigh into how long it takes a property to sell and whether it will sell or not. So I thought we would kind of get prime the pump here and get a running start at this and make sure that we've always memorized what I call the factors. Okay, the factors. So the number 1 factor, I'll start us off. I'll give you the easy one on how long it takes a property. So there's 5 more. You guys want to weigh in on what you think the others are? So go ahead and put them on the chat, and I'll call out the ones. And I think what we'll do is we'll put them in order. Price is obviously huge because it can make up for everything. Sean, you're right. Let's do that one next. Number 2 is location. So we've got price and location. Clearly, those are huge factors on how long it takes a property to sell. Let's go on to number 3. What's number 3? Let's see. Who's got it? Elizabeth, you're right. Number 3 is condition. So we'll go price, location, condition. And then number 4, let's see who's got number 4. Kara, thanks for playing. It's the market. So right, the market. So this is immigration, jobs, incomes, savings, equity. This is everything. Stock markets even in there. So we've got market. So here, let's review again. We got price, location, condition, market. Okay, so what's number 5? So let's see if anyone's got it in the chat. I'm not seeing it, but thanks. Nancy, I really like that one. You know what? I'm going to add that one. You guys, let's make a number 7. Let's take Nancy's answer, accessible for showing. Clearly a veteran's point of view, if we've got a seller who makes it really tough for us to allow buyers to see that property, then that's gonna stop on that's gonna hinder us on how long it takes to sell. Thanks, Nancy, for playing along. All right, so again, we're back to point number 5. And I'm not seeing it in the chat yet. So keep guessing. It's not motivation. Yeah, it's not willing buyer or seller. I'll give you a hint here. It's in what we do. It's one of the main things you and I do. Why they hire us. So what is that? There it is. It's showing up now. There we go. Okay. Patrick and June, you got it. Allison, you got it. Tyson, you got it. Marketing. So this is the exposure of the property, and the basically getting the word out about any product is important. So that's a fundamental, isn't it? Marketing. So price, location, condition, marketing. Marketing. And then number 6, so our final one, and of course we added one. I really like Nancy's accessible showing. Let's add one more. So can you guys think of what that is? Actually, I do see the answer. One of you have the right answer in the chat. So what's number 6? Price, location, condition, marketing, market, financing. Okay, so that's it, financing. So Trent, you're right. Thanks for playing along. So those are our factors, guys. So when a seller is asking us how long will it take or what will I get for the property, those are 2 great questions. The how long it takes, let's think about the factors. And I think we can build from that. We should be able to rattle those off. You could be able to say, well, there's a handful of factors that play into how long it takes for any property to sell. Certainly their price and location, the price we choose and the location that we're in is a huge factor. The condition of the property, the exposure, the overall market conditions that are going on, and the availability of financing. Those are the factors that play in to how long it takes. We could also add that if we make it easy for buyers to see the property, we get more showings and therefore more offers and the property sells faster. So make sure you don't just skip over that. I think when you get organized in your thoughts and you have a delivery that's built on, there's fundamentals. It's communicating to a seller that you've got, the education and experience behind you. You've done your research and you're a valued professional, rather than the shoot from the hip kind of approach, or to say, well, there's a lot of things that go into it. Why don't we look at the comparables or something like that? You're kind of skipping over a lot of the intellect that's behind this. You guys agree? You like that? Tell me, just nod or whatever. I'll sift through the pages. Did you know these already? Did you kind of practice that, or yes? A few of you? Okay. Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, I think that will help. So that's getting a running start at this. Let's take, today I didn't want to spend a ton of time on how to look at data per se, but let's take a look at how much will my house sell for. And let's look at that and break that down. Where are you going to go on where your house is going to sell for? I don't want to talk about the obvious so much today. I mean, clearly we're going to pull comps. Everyone's going to pull a comparable. But I wanted to teach this today. Make a difference, show the difference in an appraisal for value using sold and what a realtor can do by using active and under contracts. Since it's football season, this is leading the receiver. We can get it out of a trajectory ahead of what the market is. So appraisers can't do that. They're bound by underwriting guidelines. They have to use sold comparables. It means they're in history and in the past, and they have a hard time sometimes justifying current values because of that restriction. We don't have that restriction. So let's take a close look at how we compare against competition and using under contracts. Sometimes, like if I had a whiteboard here, I would do this. But I would take, let me write it out, guys, and I'll show you. Okay, so I would say that represents 100% of what we're looking at on what was for sale. Now, the under contracts become a slice of that pie. And so I'll just kind of illustrate, right? So something like that. And so what we start to build here is we say, well, this is the group. And then there's a section that moved on to under contract. And the reason they did that is because they were better than the actives, right? And if you build on this, you're starting to build the fundamentals of how to price a house, right? Because if we're overpriced, we lose. We don't advance, right? We're still left up in the active group and we're no longer, we're not moving forward because the under contracts were better than the actives, all things considered, right? Right? Okay. So when you look at that, you're going to get numbers and you're going to say something like, well, the total here, let's say we would love to have comps that were, if we could get 20, that would be a pretty good database. Here, I'll make it, I'll just do 10. Okay. Let's say that right now I've got a ratio that looks like this. Here, I'll show you. Okay. So my ratio is something like that. I've got 10 total with, and I got 6 of the 10 that are under contract. So 4 didn't move on. Okay. So what was it about the under contracts that caused them to win the buyer? Okay. Now, before I completely answer that, can we review something else here? The okay, so if I don't pause here and explain these things to sellers, I'm going to run into objections. I'm going to run into things like I want to price it $30,000 or $40,000 over, way over the highest comparable, and they're going to get way too out in front of this. And what's going to happen is we're going to sit on the market too long, and we're going to lose some of our buyers. So I'm in this group, in this circle. It's not only built with just comparables, but it's built with what we believe that generally our buyers are going to shop. So this throws out things like restrictions for appraisers. We have 6 block radiuses or things like that. So will you write this down again? This is a reminder of what market is. So when we say how's the market, that's such a broad statement, right? So in this group, the market is like kind property. So how's the canyons market, Jeff? Right? How's the condo market? If I said, Rachel, how's the Moab market? That's really broad, right? We could break that down, but we may have investment properties inside that market. We've got residential, but we've got horse property. We've got properties with views. We've got new construction property, right? We could even say we've got Rambler market, the 2-story market, the main floor master market. We've got houses with a pool market, right? So whatever that driving amenity or uniqueness, that should show up in this group, and then we start doing our comparison. You like that? I think that'll help you narrow it down and get a better picture of how we price the property. Okay, so that was my tips on how we're going to address what would my house sell for. Notice I'm not really going into the stats right now and comparing, one comp to another. We've done that in other classes and other coaching sessions before, where we've laid out comparables and looked at data. Certainly that's not lost on me. I'm not meaning to minimize that at all today, but I wanted to turn up the emphasis on those 2 principles. That the market is very unique in what the kind of property is. And number 2, that we have to be able to compete against the actives in order to win. And so that's not something that an appraiser typically does. So you might find yourself looking at actives first, and then looking at the under contracts and noticing the difference in the 2, right? I think that'll help you. It also gets the seller's mindset that they're in competition. The buyer pool is what the buyer pool is. You're not going to create more buyers. They are what they are, right? Okay. Okay, if I missed any questions, Joe, let's see. Is it nice to have them laid out like this? Okay, so the comparables need to be very similar to the house being sold. I mean, to Elizabeth's question, look, the better the comparable, the better our determinations are going to be, and our predictions are going to be. Anytime we've got to make broad, adjustments, that's more open to opinion and really hard to justify. So we go, the easiest thing to compare is a condo, because there's like property within the same location, generally the same square footage, and there might be some condition issues that we could address. Okay. Let's see. One challenge I've thought about is that we don't know what the price, the comp is. Yeah, very good point, Kimberly. We don't know what it was negotiated. Now in this market, it actually could be higher, couldn't it? And that's something we're going to have to also have a ballpark range with. The sold comp, we do know. We can take some good estimates here. I think we use our wisdom. That's the best we can do. You know, this is not a direct science. This is why they need you. So pricing, pricing it is very important. So let me show you a graph, guys. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Let's see. Hang on just a minute. We've talked a lot about showing someone your proficiencies. Let me ask you guys this. How do you show someone you're honest? How do you do that? Look at this graph. Here, let me show you. Share screen. Look at this graph on what sellers want from their agents. Okay, that's weird. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Joe, can you
click too many buttons too fast, Will?
Okay, sorry.
Give it a shot.
Okay, I'll try this again. There we go. Yep. Thanks. Okay. So this is most important factor when choosing an agent, reputation, honest, trustworthy. I mean, these are the top two answers. And I suggest that even the one that says family and friend is because they do have a trust with that referral. So it's the vast majority. I mean, my goodness, it's, I guess if I rounded this up, that's 40, 50, 60, 65, some, almost 70%. So it's more than 2/3 that were polled. So I'm asking this question is how do I communicate and show that I'm honest and I'm trustworthy? So here we are talking about how to price a property and what it's going to sell for. So anybody want to have a conversation with me about this? How do you show someone? So Michael says, by being that way. Travis says, eye contact. Very good. Anybody want to talk this out? I mean, how do you show someone you're honest? Anybody? We're nervous this morning? Come on. Just have another sip of Red Bull. It'll be okay. Elizabeth says, by giving your honest opinion based on fact that I have backing up my opinions. Really good. Support your comments with data. I like that, Doug. It can be more, take some of the emotion out of it. So I like that. Peter, do you want to weigh in? Is that why you were unmuting?
He was either raising his hand or he was covering his camera. Either way, we unmuted him. Yeah,
got it. Well, Peter, do you want to say something? You're unmuted.
Well, I was just thinking, just being an example and being upfront and honest about everything in regards to, comps, pricing, activity, that kind of stuff. Just kind of laying it out on the line, whether they like it or not. So.
Yeah, very good. We're kind of, I'll put you back on mute there. Hey, Peter's, if you guys don't know Peter, he is religious about door knocking, getting out there in his neighborhoods and meeting his people again. And he's done this for years. Really good at prospecting door to door and building relationships that way. So see, there's Peter out walking the neighborhood, right? Name tag and all. Very good. Nice job. So, hey, I think we've got to draw the line between what we wish we could sell for and what we all would love to have happen. And then what the truth is. And I think there are opportunities to kind of draw the difference there and say, By the way, do you hire an agent that says we can get a higher price? Is that how we go and shop for an agent? Would that be a good way? Go get the most optimistic agent who overshoots the value. I mean, I know I'm saying that with sarcasm, but of course not. So maybe that's where we can address that. We're putting out the data, and we all want to sell the property for more. And frankly, that is what our job is. So I like this. All right. So good stuff, guys. Anybody else have another tip? How do we show them? Let's see if look for opportunities to do the right thing and know your stuff and be honest about it. Thank you, Sean. Just like you do in any relationship, be present with them. Don't over fluff. Just be real in every aspect. Leanne, sit down with your laptop doing report. I like this. Very good. Listen to your customer. Really good, guys. You know what? This is what I love about you all. We've got a lot of great people in this company. And so really, I'd rather have a good person than a good salesperson any day. Wouldn't you? I mean, forget sales. I mean, really, we should be good communicators. That's what we should be. If we want to work on a skill, work on communicating. Working on sales, to me, sounds like we're just trying to convince someone to do something that may not be right for them in order that we make a sale. And I don't like that. I'm here for them, right? And so are you. So just be a good person. Sometimes in my over-enthusiasm, I get excited and unintentionally exaggerate something. But what I've started to train myself in is I can always edit that, right? I mean, if I overstated it, I can go back and edit it. It's not like it can't be restated. I could say something like, well, what I mean is, well, actually, that's an overstatement. And then I would correct it, right? There's no reason to exaggerate. You never have anyone talk to you and they say something like, it has everything. You ever heard that saying? Like, so yeah, we bought it and it has everything. Or how did you get the listing? Well, I promised everything. And that's kind of one of those blunt examples of really everything. So you did everything that there was possible. So, and that's not possible, right? So that would be one of those over exaggerations. That's not as honest as we could be. So anyway, it's a lifelong endeavor, right? Show them your honesty and that you're trustworthy by being that way, and watch how you communicate. Be a good person. Be genuine. Thank you, June. I like that. Sally says, show our sold list price ratios. Those are very good indications how our pricing and how it works out. There's great graphs on the MLS that show all that too. So if we're data centered and then we add in our opinions on that are honest and not overshooting, I think we do pretty good. Okay, nice job. Okay, so let's move on to the next point. All right, let's write this one. How long is it going to take? So the how long it's going to take is one of the things that everybody wants. So let's do this one too. Let's write down, and a lot of you've done this before, but practice is good. Let's write down core benefits. If we were sitting all together, I think I'd have you write this out and see how well you guys do. Can we just play along here, and do you grab a piece of paper and write this down and write them all out and then show me on your screen you got them? You want to do that? Let's see how well you do. Write core benefits. So the reason I'm saying this is because when we talk about how long it takes, the time in which it takes to sell is one of the core benefits that every seller wants, right? They want the shortest amount of time. So that's one of the right answers. What else do they want? What else are the basic things that they want that we deliver as a benefit after something that we do? So for example, syndication is a great way to get exposure, right? But what's the benefit of syndication and exposure? What does it do? Right? Nobody buys that. Nobody's going to list with you because you syndicate. They buy what you have to sell because of what it gives them, right? So everyone buys benefit, not feature. The feature is the thing that gets them to what they want, right? But they really just want to buy what they want. So go ahead and write those out, and let's see how you do. You know, we could say there's 4 or 5, and I've already given you one, right? I've already given you one, which is the time it takes to sell. So what are the other core benefits? If you have them, put them up on your camera, and I'll go through the pages. Let's see how well we do. Patrick's like, come on, Will, can't I just participate as a viewer? Why do I got to participate in action? Okay, and this is where everyone, hey, Joe, did you just notice how many people turned off their video?
Everyone's like, I'm out of here. It's not happening.
Okay, I'm just going to listen.
At this point, I'm the guy in the back row at the class. Leaning back
right.
Yeah,
I'd rather poll the audience, right? I'd rather poll the audience.
So yeah, I've had many comments about the background today, Will, and it's because we're always here giving it our all. So go ahead and put your cameras on, give it your all. And I have a guest visitor today too.
Hi, Zach.
Hi, Zach.
All right. Well, go log on your own site, Zach, and participate in this. All right. What's our core benefit?
Got it showing. That's why he's late. So.
Oh, really?
Good. I had to brag a little bit. He's trying to meet a customer for a showing.
Nice. Good for you. What is the number one thing everybody wants from us? Why do they hire us as a listing agent? Number one thing. Sally, what is it? You're saying it. Unmute. Let's see. Let's unmute Sally. Or type it in for me, because Joe's being a parent for a moment.
No, I'm here.
Okay, unmute Sally. She says, I said, what's that? Yep, there it is. So the highest price. Actually, let's put that one as number 2. Okay, there's and granted, we like this one so much, we're going to say it a couple of different ways. But let's take that one and make that number 2 core benefit. It's the highest price. So what's the number one thing? If you guys have been in previous coachings with me and you're practicing this, I've said before that this is why we were born at Brookshire. This is what we do. It's our reason for living. What is it? Okay. See, I'm going to your motivated knowledge and experience. Yes, but it's what so Nicole, the knowledge and experience is not really what they're buying from you. They're buying from you what that gives them, right? Your knowledge and experience is a feature of what you provide, not the benefit of what you provide. Okay, you guys are not getting it. All right, well, that's why we're on coaching. And so, Rachel, it is their goals. Okay, and the benefits are their goals. Okay, so this is what they want from us. We're getting there now. Christian, you got it. You were the first one to get it right. It's the highest net. Number 1 is the highest net. It's their bottom line. It's after paying a commission. It's what they walk away with. We could call it equity. You could rephrase it a number of ways. You could say the reason we exist at Brookshire Hathaway is to net our clients the most and have them realize the highest amount of equity possible. That is why we exist. It's what we do. It's why Joe has a job, I have a job, Jamie, the marketing department, the brokers, the staff, the 60 of us, the technologies. It's all about netting them the most, including the fee they pay for the commission. It's what we do, right? It's our purpose, okay? It's why we're here. Now, there's bigger purposes in life, just to be clear, you know? But as far as our jobs are concerned, this is what we do. Sorry, I kind of pictured like Sunday school, and we're all going, why are we on this planet? And someone's like, it's to net sellers the most. Well, that's what Will said. Look, clearly I'm having a lot more fun than anybody else. I just stare at a computer, keep the humor coming. Okay, so if number 1, thanks, June. if number one is net the most and number two is what Sally said earlier is the highest price, I mean, they go together. I get that, but I think it's worth saying it a different way, because sometimes people can translate the highest price to their highest net. They get that. They get, if they sell for more, they're going to bring home more. Some people don't always get that we navigate not just highest sales price, but the lowest amount of concessions, right? Don't we negotiate that for them? Don't we analyze the amount of concessions needed in a deal and what we have to pay for? Is it not just concessions like closing costs, but it's also repairs that can show up in a transaction? So we negotiate the least amount of repairs possible. Don't we do that? Of course we do. We use our expertise to help them get the highest net, right? So net and price kind of go hand in hand. Number three, what's number three then? Number three is back to this time thing. That's what got us here, is how long will it take my property to sell? And that time is really critical. Okay, so that's number three. Okay, so for bonus, you know what? I'm going to give, okay. I got 25 bucks here. For the first one who can type in what the final answer is on this core benefit. It's not net, it's not price, and it's not time, but it's really, really, really important. Okay, I think we've got a winner. Keep them coming before I say the answer. Okay, Nicole. Nicole Bodell, you got it. Reduce legal risk. Obviously it's one of my favorite subjects. I mean, come on. Where's the forms manual? I mean, nobody makes a forms manual if they don't love reducing legal risk. Okay. No one organizes a table of contents and oh, it's my baby, if you don't love to lower legal risk. But it's a big, big part of what you guys have to offer and why they hire you. Okay. All right. Why am I saying all this? Because the way we communicate, we have to translate this into core benefit, right? So how do I show and communicate my proficiencies? As I talk about benefit. So I translate that for them, right? Well, I think I may have, oh, here it is. Okay. So, because we're getting a running start on something as we tackle this, how do I handle do I sell first and buy, or do I go buy and make it subject to sell? How do I do that? And look at what we're running into, right? We're running into, this isn't comps. We're running into the complexities of the contracts and the language and all their little idiosyncrasies. And if we're not careful about what that is, we're going to find a seller with an expectation that's not real, or we're going to find a client that gets damaged along the process, not what we want. So here our job is to lower legal risk. And in that, we educate, we understand the options. And this is, this is a study thing. So can I ask you guys, what grade would you give yourself right now on knowing the forms? What's your grade? How do you do there? Doing pretty well? Joe's nodding, going, yeah, I'm getting this.
I'm a solid D- right now, Will. I would say I was on track for probably a solid C+, B- before April, but it's been a pretty rough ride for external studies since then.
You know what? There's a scene in Tommy Boy where he goes and sees his grades on the board and he goes, a D+. Oh my gosh, I passed. I passed.
The person with the worst grade in medical school, right?
Yeah.
Oh, doctor.
Of course, everybody's congratulating. Way to go on that D+, Tommy. Way to go on that D+. Hey, thanks, man. I passed. So how you doing there? We become what we study. And so I guess if I backed up a little bit more, I've told you guys this before, but when when I got really serious about wanting to change things in my life, I changed my morning. That's what I changed. Because the day would get away from me. I figured out with myself, if I don't exercise in the morning, I won't do it. Okay, that's just me. I won't exercise because I gave everything I had to everybody during the day, so I was exhausted. Well, another thing I couldn't do is I didn't find a lot of time to get ahead of the day, obviously in the night before. And admittedly, I have done that too. But I do focus on study in the morning. Something good, some good content. You know what? The worst thing I could do in the morning is wake up and do this. Okay? Like that's one of the worst things I could do is wake up and read the news. The news is not interested in, you know, your anxiety levels. They're not interested in your happiness. They're interested in shock so they can keep your eyes on it so they can sell ads and clicks. So, and they know that works for many of us. And so, you know, what do I consume in the morning? So I own that morning routine and I study this. And that's where I think studying our forms becomes really valuable. Okay, so let's go and pivot over to, let's talk about these two forms. Yesterday I posed in sales meeting what happens with earnest money. I'm going to kind of cut to the end of the story instead of the running start. But guys, I think a lot of our sellers are not going to counter with that option to keep house on market. I think they're going to stay with the condition and the contingency because of the way that it was edited and built. And if we don't understand this, we're letting our sellers down and we miss a great opportunity to show our value in lowering legal risk. Okay? Lowering legal risk. That is the benefit. That is what they want. Now we have to show them how we do that. So what I would do is I would contrast these two forms. So here we are. Here's the subject to sale. I would either do this, if I'm doing it digitally, I would just do what I'm doing on Zoom here. Okay. And I would show these two forms. So we've got the option to keep house on market and we've got the subject to sell a buyer's property. How many of you feel like you know these forms pretty well? Can I not do deep dives and just talk about the problem? I'm hoping we can do that today. Thanks, Jeff, for nodding. Okay. Remember, they were edited. So first thing, come down here and make sure you've got the 2020 version. Okay. So if you're in an old forms manual, just check that out. Make sure you've got the new version. Okay. Now we come up here and notice release to buyer. And then we've got release to seller. Okay. Right here. So let me do that again. Release to seller, second line, release to buyer. We've never had a subject to sale addendum where seller was going to get the earnest money if the deal didn't happen, if they canceled. So this is a lot more seller friendly. And you've got to slow down and you have to tell them about this and you have to point out the lines and then we can make a plan as to whether or not they want to list their house and get an offer on it before they go shopping and what their options are. And don't jump to the end on this one. This is a chance again to show proficiency. I mean, this is your presentation, right? Think about that. This is your presentation. So we're going to show that and we're going to talk them through it. So if, and I could look at this from two ways. I've got my seller hat on whether or not we want to write an offer like this as my seller buyer, or I could take the seller's perspective of getting an offer on their house that with a buyer of theirs that is subject to that house, right? And what that means to them. So here's what I was bringing up in sales meeting. Because this is the last addendum, this controls, we know that, right? The last addendum controls. If I counter and make this say addendum number 6, where this one was addendum number 5, the language in this option to keep house on market is going to control. Well, if the buyer, so the seller has the right to continue to offer the property. The buyer has, if that happens, the buyer removes these conditions, and I would highly suggest that they're all marked. Okay. To make that stronger. I love this section, but by the way, there's a typo and an edit here. Matter of fact, draw your attention to that. If you've got, make a note of this. See on C, it says buyer agrees to the deposit of earnest money in the amount of, and then it just has $1. That should be a blank, and it's not there. So that's got to be fixed still. I sent an email to the Forms Committee and UAR 2 weeks ago, and they said, thank you, good catch, but I haven't seen it come across yet. So we're going to have to edit that. That should be a dollar amount. Okay, so what they're going for here is to get the buyer to recommit and double the amount of earnest money, or could double the amount of earnest money, their commitment in the transaction, right? But if they remove all of this, if buyer does not remove this, then they get their earnest money back. Okay, that's what I want to draw your attention to. See this release to buyer? So now this becomes a question of timing. Okay, let me just go back here. This becomes a question of timing. Are we after due diligence when this offer shows up, or is it prior? You see that, guys? So if you counter with option to keep house on market and that offer comes in and it is after the financing and appraisal deadline, you're essentially giving the earnest money back to the buyer, which would otherwise go to our seller. Okay? All right, let's get questions. Questions, comments on that? Isn't this a great way to show proficiency in lowering legal risk? And isn't this common right now? I've got a property to sell and I need to buy, right? Elizabeth, I know you've got one. You've got a client that's a seller and a buyer. Is that purchase based on the condition of selling? If it is, lay these forms out, make a plan, educate them on what the options are. And as you do that, it's not, look, it's natural. It's not salesman-y. It's just communication and presentation. And now you're showing your value instead of telling somebody, right? Okay, anyone want to comment with me on this or chat this out, or got a question? I could unmute. Anybody? Come on, someone play along here. Patrick? I can't unmute you. There you go. Go ahead.
I think my understanding of the buyers, the buyer to subject to sale, it's changed now. So it's a little bit more. You got to be on top of your finance and appraisal, your due diligence deadline, and it ends up being a much quicker process. That I just went through it and I lost the deal because the guy couldn't commit. He wasn't under contract yet. So, but I just think that the way it's written now, it does protect the seller a lot more than it ever has. But.
Yeah. Are you noticing too that when you're dealing, so when you've got these chain reaction closings, that you have to manage the financing and appraisal deadline of the previous offer? Because if that's our client, we've got to have that out on the new purchase as well, even if we're subject to the closing of, right? Because we're also going to be subject to our earnest money with our buyer/seller client, right? As our buyer makes an offer who is also a seller, we're going to have to manage that too. And guys, I'd grab a calendar, right? I mean, I do a hypothesis and say, or hypothetical. I do a hypothetical, not a hypothesis. I would say, let's suppose we're here. Let's suppose this is our, due diligence deadline. Let's suppose this is our financing and appraisal, right? And then I say, let's suppose that our buyer is this. Let's suppose we write an offer on another property that's this. And I'm telling you, you'll blow their minds, right? This is why we hire a surgeon, right? This is why we don't go looking for the cheapest surgeon. We don't go look for the cheapest real estate agent. We go look for the best, right? Because it matters. It's complex. It's complicated, right? These surgeries are complex. Yesterday, Steve Roney, he said, remember he said, attorneys don't lower their prices because they do a lot of deals and surgeons don't do the same. Well, he's comparing us to attorneys and surgeons. And that there's a lot of wisdom in that, because what we do really matters. There's a lot at stake here, and it is really complicated. But if you get in a hurry in this fast-paced market and you skip over that, you're going to get commission objections, right? So isn't this awesome? I mean, this is the way to do it, and it's real, it's authentic, it's honest, and it really matters. And we need to empower them to make a decision on this information. And when you do that, you have value. When you have value, it substantiates your cost. Yeah, it's beautiful. Life is so good. It's just so good. How could it be any better? Right? Okay. Thanks, Patrick, for playing along. I appreciate that.
Sure. It could get better if they already sold their house.
Good. Yes. How could it be any better? Let's get the house closed.
Sold first.
Yeah. A good friend of mine, I referred this one yesterday, but a good friend of mine, he says to me, Will, we're okay even selling our house before we find one. Right? They were okay with that. And that was just right out of the gate, you know, I mean, but it's all teed up, right? It's all teed up. Matter of fact, guys, this is a friend of mine, and he's already been in touch with a friend of his. So that is from a competitor of ours. And this other agent's already been doing some preliminary work. And I said, well, let me refer you one of our Brookshire agents. You know, I mean, look, it's a no-lose situation. If you love what our agent has to say, tell your friend at ABC Realty to do what we suggested, right? If you like our agent better and they can help you, then you don't lose, right? I mean, you can't lose on this. And they said, you know, good point, Will. Yes, go ahead, refer me an agent. We did that, but right out of the bat, he's like, I need to sell and buy. Okay. So here's the opportunity to show the complexities in that as a part of our presentation. Okay, this has been a really good discussion. I got 2 more little tips, and then let's do takeaways, okay? And we'll get to work. Did you guys read my email this morning? How many of you read my email? Did anyone laugh? You did laugh, okay. Because my third point was how to protect yourself from a cougar. I'm assuming at this point, you know, there's been like 48 million people watch the video of the guy. Now I saw the unedited version, and I have
over 60 million so far.
60 million. Okay, so 60 million people.
Yeah.
Has anyone not seen this video? Michael, you have not seen it? So real quickly, this is what, 3 days ago. It's in Utah County. What it was in like Slot Canyon or something like that. Guy goes for a run. Okay, up on the trail in the road are 2 cougar kittens. Okay, 2 cougar kittens. Down the road on the other side of the cougar kittens is mom. Mom cougar. Mom cougar comes charging at runner down the road. Here's the over-under for all of us. That guy said the S word 58 times. How many of you feel like you would have said it more or less?
It's just to show you that cougars are no good.
Okay, but this reminds me of a very important thing in all presentations. Write this one down. It's called lesson number 5. One of my mentors said, never forget lesson number 5. And of course, I literally did this. I go, okay, lesson number 5. What is it? What is it? And he said, never take yourself so serious or too seriously. So I wrote down, never take self too seriously. Okay. What's number 1? And he said, Will, just number 5. Oh, okay. Got it. When you're doing these presentations with people, humor is a great way to show confidence, right? It's calming. It's okay, right? It's okay. That's lesson number 5. Another way to improve your confidence. This is more on the serious side. This is my final tip in coaching. There's no substitute for preparation and practice. Okay. You want to improve your confidence, you got to prepare better, and you got to practice. That's it. Now you can say experience. You know, there's a lot of experienced agents on this coaching call right now. The reason they're confident is because they've experienced and practiced a lot of different situations. So they're confident in what they have to say and how they present. Okay. So I hope that helps you. I was really impressed with how little that guy said the S word, frankly. I guess there's a spoof out there already. Have you guys seen this one? Where a guy dresses up as the other meaning of cougar, which apparently is an attractive older lady. Okay. So he dresses up as an attractive older lady coming at a guy. Okay. So anyway, you know, life is too short to not laugh and find some fun along the way and enjoy what we do. We're so serious right now with all these transactions, but anyway, I love you guys. I hope that helps. Would you weigh in for me, please? This is a good feedback for me. I've lost about 4 or 5 of you probably because you needed to get to an appointment, but there's still 35 of us. What's the number one takeaway today? Number one takeaway. Prepare and learn. Very good. Time on the market, price, good. Okay, not able to read them all. Hey, Joe, when we record these, we keep a recording of the chats.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. It's probably good for all of us to see what everyone is about. You know what's
so all those inappropriate comments that Rachel makes are all recorded.
Yeah.
For this week.
Right. You know, I'm seeing on here, June Marchand is one of my favorite people, and she's a veteran, years of experience, and look at what she says: education is key. And Linda Sechrist would say that too, you guys, if you know her. She's one of our top agents and 40 plus years in the business, and she says keep learning. And one of my coaching sessions, I hold up the sign that says humble, and it has an arrow, and I ask, where will humble take you? And humble takes you to being a good student of life. And it's so true. We keep learning. We learn from our experiences, and the lessons are around us, and you can never lose, because those lessons can be leveraged. They mean more than what we think a lot of times. So it's not always that you get a deal done. Someone says, I lost a deal. I said, what did you learn? Because what you learn is more valuable than the deal itself, right? What we learn is more valuable. But great stuff, you guys. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining me. You know, I love you all. Reach out anytime. I'm happy to help you with anything along the way. I've recently had a lot of my personal time freed up, so I'm feeling good, really good. So you guys call me anytime. You don't have to call Kevin Larson now at 9 o'clock at night. You can call me. You can call me. Okay. All right. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day. See you next time.